Okay. You have 5 minutes before we rejoice. Remember, we rejoice every quarter hour. Okay, here's what it is. St. Patrick's Day it was started. Isn't that amazing? And here it is, Patriots Day. Town Justice Court, Town of Harrison, County of Westchester, State of New York, United States of America. Verified complaint, jury trial demanded, Glendora plaintiff versus Charles F. Dolan, Cablevision Systems Corporation, James L. Dolan, Mac Budil, Thomas Gardner, Charles A. Forma, the court jester for Cablevision, Christine Savarino, the woman who did such awful things on the witness stand in the Rye City Court, Cecilia Mastroelli over in Peekskill, Peggy Anderson over in Hauppauge, Robert M. Callaghy, the Cablevision Liar for Hire, and Satterley, Stevens, Burke & Burke, the law firm, Patricia Langelotti, who signed for Glendora's paper, and then double-crossed Glendora, and the same for Langelotti, by the way, is in Harrison, and Deborah Eacock is in Garrison. Isn't that funny? This is a verified complaint under penalty of perjury. Glendora asseverates she is telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help her God. The defendants, Charles Dolan through Anderson, have violated Glendora's public access right of first come, first served. This is federal law 47 U.S. Code, section 521 et sequitur. This is state law, Title 9, New York Code Rules and Regulations, 595.4. This is municipal law. The franchise is granted Cablevision to string cables along the public's right-of-way. All defendants listed super have violated Glendora's rights under New York State Public Service Law, Article 3, Section 229. No cable operator shall limit or prohibit public access. This is page 3. Said defendants have violated public access law, stating public access shall be administered on a non-discriminatory basis. That's paragraphs 3, 4, and 5 supra. Further, these named defendants have violated Glendora's protection against cable TV operator editorial control. You understand that public access is a public forum. You can't censor a public forum. Said defendants are sued for requiring that Glendora have a local resident signer as a condition for cable casting her show, A Chat with Glendora. Such a condition has no statutory authority. Defendant Charles F. Dolan through Mastroelli have no authority to censor A Chat with Glendora and refuse to cable the same without notice to Glendora. They do this without notice. The most recent wacky to do this is Litchfield. He took the program off of TV without notice. That would be Robert Joyce. Said defendants in paragraph 10 have repetitively failed to exercise due diligence, persevering application, assiduity, and industry in ascertaining whether Glendora has procured a local signer. Glendora works numerous hours and spends scant dollars in print, post, travel to comply with Cablevision's unauthorized requirement for a community signer. In good faith, she sends the name, address, telephone number to Cablevision. Instantly, Cablevision calls the signer up, intimidates the signer until the signer backs down and until Cablevision has an excuse to cease cable casting A Chat with Glendora. Glendora has over 20 audio taped conversations with signers who tell how Cablevision caused them to pull out, and the two most recent ones are Langelotti and Eacock. This is extortion. Glendora invokes the state analog to Title 18, United States Code, Criminal Code, Section 1001, and Civil RICO, Title 18, U.S. Code, Section 1941, Racketeer Influence Crime Organization, to give this court jurisdiction over these criminal acts. And I want want you to listen carefully to this, because this is happening to you left and right, people. Whoever in any matter within the jurisdiction of any department or agency of the United States knowingly and willfully falsifies, conceals, or covers up by any trick or scheme or device a material fact, or makes any false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or representations, or makes or uses any false writing or document knowing the same to contain any false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or entity shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 5 years, or both. What law is that? Criminal Code 18, United States Code, Section 1001. The felons tell gullible residents they are responsible for anything Glendora says on TV. We all know that is not so, but defendants never tell the gullibles that Glendora has been doing public access for 30 years, that Glendora is on 42 TV stations, and that what Glendora threatens will happen, never has, and what Cablevision rather threatens will happen, never has happened. Angelotti and Eacock are sued for giving Glendora their word. We're on page 5. And signature and then retreating. This is breach of contract in New York State. An oral contract is as valid as a written contract. Glendora asked them if they would be her local resident signer. They said they would. They signed. Then they let Cablevision beat them to a pulp. Shame on you, Eacock and Angelotti. Charles F. Dolan, through Mastorelli, are sued for their bad faith. Glendora has been on public access on these Cablevision stations: Hauppauge, Nassau, Yonkers, New Rochelle, Pelham, Harrison, Port Chester, Yorktown, Cross River, Rockland, et al. Years before the defendants came up with these new rules, and is hence grandmothered and exempt from said rules. Factually stated, these rules are nothing but a staged harassment to keep Glendora off of TV, in particular, and in general, to discourage all public access producers into capitulating their rights. If public access producers do not use the channel, cable operators can use it for commercials. Further, the less public access producers there are, the less the Dolans have to spend on TV equipment, studios, administration of public access. They're lying and cheating, pursuant to 18 U.S. Code Section 1001, has, like all RICO, a monetary motive. Discernment is 20/20. Add to this, Dolan does not like the things that Glendora says on TV about him. He doesn't like Glendora exposing the truth about Cablevision. This has violated forbidden cable TV operator editorial control, Title 47, U.S. Code Section 531E, and also 19 New York Code Rules and Regulations, Section 595.4, and Municipal Franchise Law. We're on page 8, pretty close to the end. Dolan Cablevision does not know how to do system-wide public access. The public access program of a Harrison resident should be seen in White Plains, Greenberg, Rye, Mamaroneck, Larchmont, Scarsdale, Eastchester, and 12 other municipalities in the southern Westchester system. Dolan does not know how to do that. And before Harrison renews Dolan Cablevision, system-wide public access must be mandated. The franchise is up for renewal in Harrison. Public access in the southern Westchester system is medieval. Glendora sued Charles Dolan Cablevision Systems Corporation in the City Court of Rye. Dolan tried to get out of it by saying that the court had no jurisdiction over him because he lived in Nassau. Glendora sued Dolan for $3,000. Rye Court denied. Glendora appealed, and Glendora won, and Dolan Cablevision Systems Corporation lost. On the remand, Dolan spent $10,000 trying to prevent Glendora from getting $3,000. Now this is fiduciary irresponsibility. Glendora sues Dolan herein on this cause of action, and Glendora is a shareholder. Dolan tried to rob Glendora of her shares, and the judge who colluded with him, John P. de Blasi, is now out of the Westchester Supreme Court in lowly practice as a common lawyer. This court has jurisdiction over Charles F. Dolan even though he resides in Nassau County. The issue is res judicata pursuant to litigation in the Rye City Court, January 30th, 2004. He does business at 47 Purdy Street, Harrison, 6 Executive Park, Yonkers, 47, he does business Main Street, Port Chester, White Plains, and circa 14 other Westchester municipalities. He is also registered with the county clerk's office as doing business in Westchester. Harrison Court has jurisdiction over Charles F. Dolan, and Glendora won that battle. Glendora is suing for $3,000, the maximum monetary jurisdiction of this court. She is suing for the money, labor, time, and stress defendants have cost her in limiting and prohibiting her rights to public access TV. New York State Public Service Law, Section 229, together with all laws listed on page 2. Her costs far exceed $3,000. She cannot afford the filing fee in Westchester Supreme Court. It is as much as the U.S. Supreme Court, where this case could be brought as an original action. It could, if Glendora could afford the travel and also the fee. The fee is $300. Another scheme employed by Dolan Enterprise is to report that Glendora's tapes arrived damaged in the mail. When asked to send the proof of the damaged tapes, Dolan Enterprise never does. This emanates from Pickskill, the case of Cecilia, and Harrison, the case of Christine Savarino. Should be the cave. So Glendora did some research. She telephoned her other cable TV stations and asked, do any tapes get damaged in the mail? Yours? No. She was told by them all, and she has this on audio tape. Paragraph 38, page 11, is reserved. Page 12. Wherefore, therefore, and ergo, Glendora must be awarded $3,000 punitive and compensatory damages, together with the cost of this action and any further relief just and proper. Dated April 19, 2004, Patriots Day, State of New York, yours in truth and in amor patriae. Glendora, a chat with Glendora on 42 TV stations, including Washington, D.C., Albany, and Manhattan. And without prejudice, Uniform Commercial Code, Volume 1, Section 207. Now, I have to report to you a very sad situation. Except that we will turn around and show you that it's a very glad situation. That's of Elena Sassower. Elena Sassower knew this judge. I think his name was Kaufman. And I believe he was in Albany. And I believe that he was nominated to be a federal judge. And both Elena and her mother knew this judge to be crooked. And so, when Congress had the committee to nominate him as a federal judge, Elena, brave that she is, spent her own money, her own time, and all of her labor, and went down to Washington, D.C. to oppose that appointment. And Congress didn't give her a chance to speak. And so the gavel went down, and she realized it's over, and she traveled all this distance, and she had this commitment to show America that this man was not fit. And the gavel goes down, and Elena stands up and says, I want to protest the appointment of, and she was arrested. And I believe she was put in jail, and I believe she had to pay bail. And so there was a trial on that for 6 days this past week, this week and last week, in the United States Superior Court in the District of Columbia. You understand we have 2 United States of America, right? We have the United States of America that operates in the District of Columbia, and we have the United States of America that operates outside of the District of Columbia. Well, George McDermott, American hero that he was, he went to that trial every day for 6 days. And he reported what was going on there. And terrible things went on. Terrible, un-American things went on. But George and others were there, and they put the information up on the website. And the newspapers were there. Isn't this a terrible thing? A woman stands up to protect America against a bad judge, and she gets arrested and has to go to trial. Now she goes before a judge who is fully as bad as the judge that she was protesting. His name is Hoffman. And now I have a videotape, or an audio tape rather, of George's report that he gave me last night. And I must play this report for you. I don't know if we can do it outdoors or not. That's the question right now. Okay. Folks, you want some of the nut fruit shake? It's delicious. It's cashews, oatmeal, pineapple juice, and bananas. Okay, as discussed earlier, we're going to take a look at the map of the United States, and we're going to focus on the District of Columbia, and we're going to play you this conversation, Glendora to George McDermott. Glendora, New York, George McDermott in Maryland.
How you doing? Oh, fine. The new Dolan lawsuit is just about on its way, maybe tomorrow.
Well,
Yep. And, so, what are we going to do about DCTV?
I haven't had time to even do anything. I've been in court with Elena for the last 6 days.
Oh, is Elena still in court?
Yes, they finally went to the jury today.
Oh, it went to the jury today, and you were there with the last all 6 days?
Yep. But the problem is they'll both be proved until the transcript's out, but it's the most...
I didn't understand that.
It's the most corrupt jury trial I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So,
What about the transcripts?
when they come out, they will show that this has been the most secretive trial that it was ever had.
Really? But maybe the transcripts will be cheated.
Well, we can only go by what we're going by, and it's on a computer, and the gal is doing it well, and she knows that we're watching her, and she knows that there are people in the gallery. I mean, the Legal Times was in the courtroom for the last 3 days, all day.
Oh, really?
The Congressional Record was in the courtroom all 3 days for the last 3 days.
Really?
The Washington Post was in and out all 3 days.
All 3 days? Wasn't 6 days?
No, they've been mostly since Elizabeth posted that article on the website about the.
Folks, this is Dr. Elizabeth Pollock, a student of the law of great acumen.
Where 85% of the case of the jury file was under a squelching machine.
And she posted that notice on the internet?
Yeah. I gave it to her to post.
Well, good for you. And so since
85% of the proceedings that day was as soon as Elena was raised a defense, then the prosecutor would ask for a bench conference. The bench conference would be they go up to the bench, and then they push this button, and everything is a squelching machine. It keeps everything from the jury.
Isn't that outrageous? So what became of that? What was the result of that?
What's that?
You said ever
Every
since...
time she would make a statement, this is the judge absolutely...
Yes, yeah, but you said ever since Elizabeth posted it on the network, what happened?
Elizabeth posted it on the World Wide Web.
Yes.
On secretjustice.com.
Oh, great. And then what was the result of that?
And then the papers picked it up, and they started calling her. So now the media knows that I'm in the courtroom observing it.
You're in the courtroom, what?
I'm observing it.
Observing it. Okay, I got it.
So it's been,
What a help you've been to Elena.
they've been paying a little bit more attention. She acknowledged me on her website the other day, so for being there and reporting it. And
Where? On her website? On her
website.
Mm-hmm.
She actually got locked up today.
Now tell me about that.
Well, it started out bad. When it started out this morning, the judge said, well, we're going to go through the pre-trial stuff. And he says, Elena had given him a list of 87 documents that she would like to see moved into evidence or discussed. And he says, no, we're not. He says, I'm giving you 20 minutes. You get what you can get in with that, and that's it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, period. Bingo. And she said something, and he just blah, 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 and you can't do this. And every time the defendants would raise a defense, the prosecution would bring it up and say, you can't, she's not allowed to speak anything about the constitutional law to protect her rights. She wasn't allowed to speak about the Constitution in her closing statements or her opening statements because she's an activist and she's not allowed to fight these things. She was under threat of arrest for the last 3 days. And all the judge government's witnesses, the people she subpoenaed, the police officers and the members of Hillary Clinton's office that she subpoenaed, were subpoenaed, to bring documents with them regarding her arrest, certain documents regarding to the underlying facts of the arrest. Every one of them showed up without a document one. The court didn't say anything to them. You're not entitled to these documents, and you're not, these were documents that allowed you for the discovery. They weren't given. So it's been a joke. It's been a joke trial.
What about almost being locked up?
Well, she was locked up.
Folks, this is George McDermott in Washington, D.C., and he's reporting on the trial of Elena Sassower of Westchester County, New York. That's just above New York City. And Elena went to a congressional committee meeting to oppose the appointment of a judge to the federal bench. I believe the judge's name was Kaufman. And she went there to oppose it. And suddenly, without notice, the gavel went down, and the hearing was over. And Elena rose and said, I wanted to say something about Kaufman, why he should not be appointed a federal judge. And she was arrested. So all you have to do in the United States of America is stand up for good, and you get arrested. And she was put in jail, and she had to pay bail to get out. And she was charged with obstructing Congress. Well, how did she obstruct Congress? The gavel was down, the meeting was over. What did she do to obstruct Congress? She was a citizen who stood up and was exercising her public forum right to speak. Now, is this First Amendment? Is this the United States of America? Is this Constitution? Okay, now, guess what? She gets arrested today, or rather yesterday, right in the middle of the trial. Let me back this up just a little bit. This is George McDermott reporting to you on a chat with Glendora about the unfair and disamericanized trial of Elena Sassauer.
Regarding her arrest, or certain documents are going to go into the underlying facts of the arrest. Everyone of them showed up without a document one. The court didn't say anything to them. You're not entitled to these documents, and you're not going to get them. These were documents allowed for discovery. They weren't given. So it's been a joke. It's been a joke trial.
What about almost being locked up?
Well, she was locked up. Today she was giving her closing. She was giving her examination, and she mentioned a letter. The 4 minutes into the cross-examination by she got her statement in, and 4 minutes into the cross-examination by the prosecution, the judge stopped the trial, dismissed the jury into the jury room, and had the marshals arrest her and put her in jail for an hour and a half.
For what reason?
Because she was not allowed to talk about the evidence. They asked her, well, why did you contact Clinton's office? And she said, well, it was regarding this 37-page fax that was faxed to them. And bingo, you're not supposed to talk about that 37-page fax. This was the underlying fact of it. So if you brought any of that evidence, try to get that evidence, then I will put you, and you disrespected me, and you're going to jail.
Oh, good.
So, she went in jail for an hour and a half, and then when she got back out of jail, when they arrest somebody, when they put handcuffs on you and escort you from the room, okay, you're supposed to be charged, okay, under 28401. You're supposed to have a formal complaint against you, charged and be arraigned, and then being given a chance to defend, right?
Yes.
Well, they didn't charge her. They kept her in jail for an hour and a half, and she came back out, because I called my wife's ex-boss. I called William's mom, and she called his wife's ex-boss.
You told whose mom?
William's mom.
Oh, you called Doris?
Yeah.
And Doris called your wife's ex-boss?
Right, and then, we're trying to get a lawyer for her.
And so got a lawyer for her?
So apparently the word got back to the court that there were already big front lawyers looking into the case. So apparently when I got back to the court after, because this was at 12 o'clock, and he recessed until
I'm in love with a darling named Glendora.
20 after 1, the doors of the court were locked, and the only people who were in there were the judge, the prosecutor, and her legal advisor, and the court reporter. So something went on in secret there.
Folks, does this sound like America? This is the trial of Elena Sassower, who went to Washington, D.C. from New York to oppose the appointment of a judge to the federal bench. And she gets locked up and arrested for that. And now she's having a trial. And in the middle of the trial, because she's trying to present her case and telling the truth, she gets locked up by this superior court judge in Washington, D.C. Does this sound like America to you? This is George McDermott reporting to Glendora about the trial in Washington, D.C. yesterday of poor Elena Sassower, who went there to stand up for America. And for you.
Transcripts out. But when she came back out, she was no longer arrested.
Well, when she came back out,
they resumed the trial at 1:30. Actually, 1:40, they resumed the trial, and the judge told her that in no uncertain terms, you can't do this, and you're going to have to close it up. Actually, he stopped her in the middle of her cross-examination and told her that her defense of her case was closed. She couldn't do anything else. That was it. It's over with. You're not doing anything else. You can't bring any more of a defense. If you go against me, I'll send you back into lockup.
what is his name? Hoffman?
Hoffman.
First name? Okay.
Okay.
The judge's name in the Superior Court, who's doing all these terrible, dis-Americanized things to Elena Sassower, is named Hoffman.
They moved into the closing arguments, and she was talking about the one that you wanted to give jury instructions in closing arguments, and they excluded all perjury instructions, and they closed all the defendants, the plaintiffs' jury arguments, and she objected highly to it, and she had every right to, because it was very prejudicial setting all the way through. I mean, you see the prejudice coming out of the judge.
Yeah.
McDermott said you can see the prejudice coming out of the judge. We have to get this on DC TV as soon as possible.
And he said, well, we're going to move into after we have the jury selection, after we instruct the jury, he says, we'll take 10-minute recess, and then you will, we'll take 10-minute recess, and then you will give your close. He says, he asked the prosecutor, said, well, what is your close to? And he said, we'll take about 20, 25 minutes, and probably 5 to 7 minutes to close after that.
Who would take 7-5 minutes? The prosecutor?
Yeah, they'll take another 5 to 7 minutes to
Oh, okay. After her close.
to rebut before.
She has the last word?
Yeah, okay. And then Diana said, well, since you suppressed so much evidence in mine, and, based on the length of the trial, I don't know exactly how long it will take me to do close. He says, you've got 20 minutes to sit.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
But this is going into the 6th day of the trial.
This is judicial time there, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in the 6th day of the trial, they suppressed 80% of it. Hold on a second, please.
This is George McDermott. And Elena Sassower went to a congressional hearing to oppose appointment of a judge to the United States District Court. And they arrested her. And I believe this was some time ago.
Just this much.
And
Okay.
this was the trial last week and this week
Okay.
in the U.S. Superior Court in Washington, D.C. And the charges were obstructing Congress.
Hello.
Yes, George.
That was this one calling. I've got to go around with them before on Thursday.
He said that was Acorn calling. They stand up for your rights. Acorn calling, they wanted a rally on Thursday at 4:30.
God bless you. Now, George, so then what happened after he said you have 20 minutes to close?
And so they went ahead and they had they went through the jury instructions and they gave the jury the instructions.
Were they there?
Well, yeah, they were basically, most of them were basic, but some of them were, they screwed it in, but she couldn't, she hasn't been able to give in any of the relevant evidence. I mean, if relevancy is has any right at all in this court, I mean, these are the relevant evidence that she, when it's, instead of relevant evidence, it was when this was a trial was monumental.
Wow.
Monumental. I mean,
And obviously,
your trial judge was a sweetheart. He was a sweetheart compared to this guy.
George is referring to Glendora versus Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision Systems Corporation in the Rye City Court, County of Westchester, State of New York, United States of America. His name was Peter Lane, and George is saying that Peter Lane was a sweetheart compared to this Hoffman in the U.S. Superior Court in D.C.
Yeah. So then they go to the trial. I didn't get back in time to hear the prosecution's closing arguments, but I did get back in time to hear all the latest. He was going through point by point by point as to why the prosecution's case should fail. She's doing an excellent job. 20 minutes comes up and he says, "You're finished, young lady. Over. Go sit down."
oh my goodness, he's not even courteous.
No, you're finished.
He's not even patient and courteous.
Don't say anything to me.
You know, folks, Canon 3A says that a judge has to be courteous and patient to litigants. What do you think this one is?
Terrible.
And I don't even worry about it anymore. I mean, it's not working. And, in the first place, they arrested you, and then they let you go. When they put handcuffs on you, they have an obligation to fill out an incident report and charge you. They did not do that, so they denied you due process rights again.
Well, you mean the first time they arrested her, or today when they arrested her?
Today when they arrested her.
I see, today when they arrested her.
Called setting back. That's what they call it. I'm going to set you back. And that means you're going back to lock up. He said, and then just before she gave the closing argument, she said, "Your Honor," she says, "I've been in the lockup, and I haven't had time to get together with my court advisor, and I'm hungry, and I would like to," he says, "Look, you chose to be in lockup at lunchtime, not me.
Oh, how come? Yeah.
You either move on, or I'll send you back there."
Oh, this is a tyrant.
Isn't that childish? Isn't that bullish? Or bullying to do that? Isn't that renegade? Profligate? Abandoned?
Yeah, he did. Well,
Where does he get off doing these things? Who do you think he is?
well, the thing is, I just look at it as I'm so used to it. I just look at it and say, well, the transcript will tell the story. I told her later that tonight when we're back up. The next two business will be you win or lose. If you lose, you're going to take it on appeal. If you don't lose, you're still going to take it. You're still going to expose the record once the transcript is out.
Absolutely. I believe this is a great call. I believe that God is fed up with that court and with that man named Hoffman and with his dis-Americanism. And I believe that Elena is on one of the biggest adventures and the most important adventures of her lifetime.
Yep.
Yes, I agree. And what did she say?
She said, "You're absolutely absolutely right.
Okay, so then it went to the jury, and the jury left.
She's got, well, actually, when the jury, when the judge is sitting there, she's trying to make point and very articulate, and she was, to me, looked like she was really getting the point across.
To the jury.
To the jury.
Mm-hmm.
And, then, the judge just stopped saying, that was it, and the jury looked, what the hell, what is this?
Really? How many juries? How many juries?
There were 13 of them, they just took one.
There were 13.
Yeah, they just 13 of them.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good that they didn't try to six one. Okay.
Yeah, so,
What did you think of the jury?
Washington, D.C. to oppose the appointment of a candidate for the United States judgeship in the U.S. District Court. And she encountered this very mean she encountered this very mean judge who violated her due process to the extent of even putting her in jail during the trial.
wow. And then, all through the trial, the judge excluded everything about her prior records. Which she tried to give in. Right? Everything.
Like for what? Like for what, for instance?
What she subpoenaed the officers to prove that, to supply the arrest report. Well, they don't have it. They don't know where it's at. They've lost the tape on the prior arrest.
They ought to be sued for obstructing justice.
And absolutely. And then all of these things get together, and then she's, fighting a very tough battle and doing a stellar job of it.
Oh, wonderful. How does she do it?
Well, she's a very smart and articulate person.
Yes, I know that. I've known her for years.
And, so, what happens now is it's going to move forward to something else, and we wait to see.
Wait a second. Explain that, please. Move forward to something else.
Tomorrow she needs to be found guilty or innocent. Okay?
So are you going to court tomorrow?
I don't think I can make it up. My wife is about to kill me out with 6 days' work.
Yes, I see.
I've got to go.
Well, you're a great hero to go there.
Yeah. But I left her number. So when you get finished, you call me. I will take off any time of day after that, after 9 o'clock, and I will come over and do an interview with you for Glendora.
Oh, good. Now, George, I have recorded what you said, and I'm going to try to put this on DCTV.
Okay. Well, now, the thing is the end of the trial when they get the rebuttal.
It is out. Put me all off track. I'm going to try to pick this up where we left off. This is George McDermott reporting on the fake trial of Elena Sassower for going to Congress to oppose the appointment of a judge to the United States District Court. And the trial was in the Superior Court in Washington, D.C. yesterday. Here we go.
DCTV.
Okay. Well, now, the thing is the end of the trial when they get the rebuttal. Remember, they refused to allow her to present any evidence. Every time she talked about the prior arrest, it was not allowed. Right? On the rebut, the first thing that the opposing counsel said was she was arrested in 1996 for cursing and swearing and yelling and screaming in the halls of Congress, which is an absolute lie.
Yeah.
Absolute lie.
Yeah, and lie. Where was the proof of that?
There was no proof. There was no arrest
U.S. attorney lie?
And the controlling factor was that and the record clearly shows that she was never prosecuted for that at all.
Oh, just a U.S. attorney lie.
It's just like this thing today. Well, how can you lock up?
See, he lost his point there. The point is that she wasn't allowed to talk about the previous arrest. When they arrested her after the gavel had closed. And she stood up and said, I want to protest. And then they arrested her, but they refused to let her talk about that arrest. That's the point George was making. But they let the U.S. attorney make up this lie that she was arrested in 1996.
And then they say, well, okay, you're free after an hour and a half. Okay?
Yeah, what did happen, do you think? Because they heard that people were finding out about it?
There were five reporters in the court at the time when that happened. We're all starting to ask questions of what happened there.
Mm-hmm. And so that was in closed session?
It was never even word she was arrested.
What?
The jury was never even told that she was set back.
Mm.
Setback is a term for being arrested.
And they should have been told?
Absolutely, they came told that she was arrested for obstructing justice.
But George, they won't let her talk about the cop.
They punish somebody for that. You should let the jury know. Because the jury is the one who's got to make the decision on whether she was obstructing justice. The judge is an arbitrator. He's not the jury.
Yes, he is.
The trier of fact.
That's right. He is not. He's there to see that the rights of both parties are protected. Excuse me?
He's there to see the proceedings are done fair and in accordance with the rules.
Yes. He's there.
The trier of fact. He's not the jury.
He's there, George, to see that the rights of both parties are protected.
And at all times of the proceedings, he was acting as the prosecutor because he was sustaining almost 80% of Elena's comments without even a twinkle coming from the prosecutor's eyes.
What's your point?
Well, he can't do that.
What's your point? What was he doing?
She was supposed to be able, the prosecutor, if he wanted to make an objection.
Oh, I see. The judge was making all the objections.
And every time Elena would say, Your Honor, having state the objection. No, he doesn't have to state the objection. I know what it is.
Oh.
Hold it. You're not the trier of fact. The jury's the trier of fact once again.
Oh. All right, George, say again to the people. This was in the United States Superior Court in Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C., room 218. Judge Hoffman was the judge. United States versus Elena Salazar. And it's posted on secretjustice.org. Is the website it's posted on as Ms. Broadcast, and it was covered by the Washington Post, the Legal Times, the Congressional Record, and other newspapers. Okay?
Yes. Anything else you want to say?
That's it. I'm listening now. I'm tired.
Okay. All right, George. Thank you for your report. We're going to try to get this on DCTV.
We will make this on video.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, but we'll try to get this one on, too.
Put credits at the end of your thing, because DCTVs, that's why they didn't place it when you said down the last time. If you don't put credits at the end, they won't put it.
Okay, isn't that editorial control?
I know it is, but that's what they want.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes. Thank you.
That's a fight you fight later.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye. George. On April the 19th, Patriots Day. Patriots Day. The ride of Paul Revere. The British are coming. So we fought to get rid of taxation without representation, to get rid of King George. And what is this Hoffman acting like? Time, 8:50 p.m., Monday.
Well, folks, that's it. This is Glendora, chat with Glendora on 42 cable TV stations. And we are here to make you people aware that your courts have been kidnapped. And we have to do something about it, folks. You want to sing a hymn? We are thine, do thou befriend us. Be the guardian of our way. Keep us from sin, all defend us. Seek us when we go astray. Blessed Jesus, hear thy children when they pray. Blessed Jesus, hear thy children when they pray. Elena Sassauer, you have been called on a great, great, great mission. You are chosen, Elena Sassauer. Well, folks, I found a wonderful laundromat, and I found a very nice post office. And you have to give the United States Postal Service credit for the nice post offices they have throughout Dutchess and Columbia County. They're lovely. They're new buildings, and they're beautiful. You've seen the plants, Franklin's 3 and Franklin's Mother. You've seen them over at the Ghent Post Office. And this one is another new one and a beauty. They're all beautiful except for Stanford, Dutchess County, New York. That's Mudville, USA, 12381. Now, this is the landlord-tenant fight. A very, very big one. And this is to the Chatham Village Court, State of New York, County of Columbia, United States of America. And it is a memorandum of procedure to the Chatham Court. It's Glendora plaintiff versus Nasty Natalia, the landlord, Brat sister Lydia, Marie mother, father, brother Carlos, and Preferred Country Properties. Is case number 040-30029. Please take notice, says Glendora, that the enclosed memorandum from the County Court of Columbia, page 2, states that if no testimony was taken in the Justice Court, then the return must be filed with the County Court within 10 days of the filing of the Notice of Appeal with the Justice Court. Now, Glendora says no testimony was taken on April the 13th, Tuesday, circa 8 p.m., by Natalia. And Glendora submitted her 15-page ad damnum, and George C. Dixon, the so-called justice of the Chatham Village Court, refused to look at it or even to file it. And the next minute, he summarily dismissed the case so that no testimony was taken by Glendora. The entire hearing being quote-unquote, lasted 4 minutes. Then and there, Glendora asked the clerk, Joanne Dixon, the village justice's wife, for an appeal form, and there was none, and Glendora asked for the name of the court to which to appeal and the address. And the next morning, April the 14th, Wednesday, she mailed her notice of appeal. It cost $5 to appeal. That is the notice of appeal. probably the simplest legal paper there is, the notice of appeal, but you'd better be certain that you get it in within 30 days. The next morning, April the 14th, Wednesday, she mailed her notice of appeal. By logic, this court should have received and filed the notice of appeal by April 15th, Thursday, income tax day. Ergo, the court's return must be filed with the appeals part of the Columbia County Court by April 26th, Monday. You can't go in on Sunday. Service of this memorandum, together with the memorandum from the county court, was made upon the nasty Natalia defendants and upon James Kleinborn by U.S. first class mail, prepaid on April the 21st, year 04, and upon the county clerk at their designated addresses. Yours in truth, Glendora, on 42 TV stations, including Albany, New York City, and the District of Columbia. Without prejudice, Uniform Commercial Code, Book 1, Section 207. Now this is Opus 1130, and it took 3 hours, and it cost $4, and copies were sent to the Center for Judicial Accountability, Incorporated, to you, Glendora TV audience, by way of coaxial cable, to McDermott, Great American Patriot in Washington, D.C., Zabby, Great American Patriot in Suffolk County, Harry Richardson, another Great American Patriot in Wappingers, Nancy DeCroce in Queens, the liar for hire for the nasty Natalia defendants, and to the nasty Natalia defendants, and to the clerk of the court, who gets the original, and to the county court. Now here is the memorandum that came from the county court about filing appeals. And it was quite helpful. Okie doke. Adam was talking to God. And Adam said, God, why did you make Eve? And God said, I thought you were lonesome. And Adam says, well, God, why did you make her so beautiful? And God says, well, so you would like her. And Adam says, well, God, why did you make her so dumb? And God said, so she would like you. Legal paper is this. This is telling the supervisor of Southampton and the supervisor of Huntington that if they sign that Cablevision contract, Glendora is going to sue them. It's a notice of intent, and I'll read it to you, but first of all I want to try to get it into the 5 o'clock mail today. Well, the mail pickup, folks, is at 4:30, and I deposited the Southampton, and the Huntington, and the Dolan, and the Zabby letters at 428. So do you think we made it? Alright, this is what it is. Also mailed at that time was the procedural notice to the Village Chatham Court that they had to have the notice of appeal to the county court in 10 days. That would be next Monday, because no testimony was taken. Great judge, right? Great judge. Okay. United States District Court, Southern District of Idaho, Glendora plaintiff versus the town of Southampton, Patrick Haney, Nancy Grabowski, Steve Kenny, Linda Cabot, Dennis Susskind, at 116 Hampton Road, Southampton, New York, and Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision Systems Corporation at 1111 Stewart Avenue in Bethpage. And what is it, folks? It's the notice of intent to sue pursuant to Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Rule 26. Now, under penalty of perjury, Glendora tells the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help her God. Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision Corporations do not. If you sign that Cablevision contract, Glendora will sue you and Dolan and Cablevision. First cause of action is forbidden municipality editorial control, 47 U.S. Code Section 531E, and also Title 9 New York Code Rules and Regulations 595.4. Second is forbidden editorial control, 47 U.S. Code Section 531E. Third is limiting and prohibiting public access, Article 11, New York State Public Service Law, Section 228. Fourth is on first come, first served, in violation of Title 9 and Title 47. Title 9 is New York State, Title 47 is federal. Fifth is public access must be administered on a non-discriminatory basis. Cablevision contract violates the same. You are state actors, you work for a government, therefore you can be sued under free speech, First Amendment, Glendora's free speech, and the public's right to know, your free speech. You have a First Amendment right to know. Ergo, such cause of action is 42 U.S. Code, Section 1983, Civil Rights, and Section 1985, Conspiracy. Seventh is Cablevision contract violates both the U.S. Constitution and the New York State Constitution, Article 1, Bill of Rights. Ad hominem is $83 million, $83 million. Idaho court has jurisdiction because a civil rights case can be brought in any federal court. Venue has to be in the interest of justice. You have a duty to us public access producers not to sign that despicable contract. Further, you have a duty to us to hold open meetings. It is our government. You are not a country club. Dated April 19, 2004, Anno Domini, State of New York, yours in truth and in amor patriae, Glendora. A chat with Glendora on 42 TV stations in 200 municipalities and in Washington, D.C. Without prejudice, Uniform Commercial Code, Book 1, Section 207. Opus 1128, 3 hours and $6. The very same notice went to the following. Town of Huntington, Susan Berland, Mark Cuthbertson, Marlene Bada, and Frank Patron. Okay. Now, I was trying to think of a good joke to tell you. Did you hear what the famous author said to the reporter? The reporter said to the famous author, "What do you consider your greatest work of fiction?" And the famous author said, "My income tax form." The museum is coming very, very nicely every day for 15 minutes. I work on it and I tidy it up, and put things away and label things, make it look nice. It's really coming well. And how are you doing? You have my number. Call me up and tell me. You know, I'm always interested in what people do. Always interested in how people spend their lives. Jesus calls us o'er the tumult of life's wild and restless sea. Day by day his sweet voice soundeth, saying, "Christian, follow me."
Pat McDermott, it's Glendora.
George McDermott is Glendora.
I made the videotape for DCTV. It was put in the mail today. I should think you would have it Monday. And I think it's all ready. The audio is good. There's no glitches. And I put the credits on. George, I made your videotape for DCTV.
What?
I made your tape for video for...
You got it already?
No, remember I recorded the report that you gave me on the trial.
Okay, fine.
And I've got that on, the videotape's all made with an opening and a closing and credits.
Okay.
And it's been sent out to you today.
Good.
Yeah, and so there's no glitches in it, and I did the credits as you told me to.
Okay.
So I hope you have it Monday.
I will, I should have it Monday, and I'll take it all down there.
Okay.
You should be getting, today or tomorrow, you should get the staff hours.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean,
That's great. Did you hear from her?
yeah, I called her yesterday. She's doing very well.
Oh my gosh. It's an awful thing to be told you're guilty of something you didn't do.
Well, I think, and I've been thinking about her mother keeps saying she wants to get this dream team together to defend her. From what I saw in the court, she doesn't need a dream team.
She's so good, huh?
I mean, especially on appeal.
This is about the travesty of Elena Sasshauer, who stood up to protest the appointment of a man to the federal bench, a man that she knew to be a bad person. And she was arrested, and then it was a 6-day trial, and the judge kept the evidence away from the jury, and the judge even locked Elena up in jail for an hour and a half during the trial, and never told the jury. And the jury, of course, not having the right information, and of course being intimidated by the whole racket, said that Elena was guilty. And I say, folks, it's an awful thing to say you're guilty when you haven't done anything wrong. They are guilty, okay? Congress was guilty not to let Elena speak. What has happened to the United States of America, and this Judge Hoffman in the Superior Court, the District of Columbia, he's guilty. These are the people who should be locked up.
Who hears anything on an appeal? It's all paper.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It may be 5 if you're pro se.
Yeah, if you get anything.
Yeah. George, when is the sentencing?
June 5th, I believe.
June 5th.
Yeah. Did you just try to call me when you call my cell phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Dorothy Payne.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Yeah, I've got her, and she just filed her appeal again.
Oh, good.
Where they won it and then went back to the court. The court said it had no jurisdiction. Oh, God. Hold on a second. Who the heck is this? He just wants this guy called me, wanted me to go to trial in Greenville tomorrow. They're going to go to federal court.
Oh, God bless him.
All they want me to do is go to court. I got.
Well, I don't blame him. You're so good at court. Who is that?
This is Elizabeth's friend.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
it, George. I don't think it's
Elizabeth is Dr. Elizabeth Pollock.
on any more friends. All right, so I think you'll see the demeanor of Alina when it goes on the...
I told George McDermott he can't afford any more friends.
It came out real good. Oh, good. It came out real good. Oh, good. Well, Amina was good, and she was not nervous or upset. And I mean, so, and I talked to her last night, and she's not nervous or upset. And, you know, but George, it's an awful thing. I believe that, you know, I asked her last night, I was very upset after I copied her tapes and she left me, of the rest, you know? I look at it and make sure you make a point of this when you're doing it, to tell people, you know, how did this happen? How come there was only one senator in a Judiciary Committee meeting? Oh! The chairman was the only person present. Ooh! Okay? Ooh! You know, what happened to all the other senators? Yeah! Where were they? Were they expecting this? Was this a setup? Yeah! And then as soon as he gavels the thing closed and she stands up and says, you know, there's citizen opposition to this, right? Yeah. And then she's arrested. After she's led out of the room, you see him put his reading glasses back on and read from a script. Like, they had this thing planned to lock her up. You think so? Huh? You think so? Well, absolutely. Absolutely. And then on top of that, you know, shameless Seamus, he actually did order her arrest. He did file the complaint with the police department. He did sign the arrest order. Okay? But what gives him the right not to be in court so she could confront the accuser? Yeah, oh, definitely. Fifth Amendment. Yeah. And she had subpoenaed him. They questioned. Oh. The whole thing is a setup, George. The whole thing. You know, and I'm so proud of her and pitiful. I mean, it's because she now is in a position to expose this thing. You know, and I really love the idea that there were only one senator in the room, because you can put that on TV and you can put a freeze frame and say, what is this, folks? This is a confirmation hearing. Yeah. For the Senate. Yeah. How can you confirmation the lack of a quorum? Oh, right. Okay. Who's believing you got the shameless and vote? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, well, you're right. You're right. It's a tremendous sacrifice on her part, but you're right. It's probably the greatest.
Folks, that was George McDermott was saying, how can you have a Senate hearing with only one senator present? It's not a quorum. Okay, this is the thing about Elena Sassauer, went all the way down from New York to Washington, D.C. to oppose the appointment of a man to the federal bench. I think his name was Kaufman or something. The Senate hearing was over before she knew it, or anybody else knew it. The gavel went down, and then she stood up to say a citizen protests this, and she got arrested. Okay, now what is happening to the United States of America? Don't let it happen. Now we've got to stop this. Our government has been kidnapped. We have to stop these crooks. Hi folks, how are you today? Trying to clean up this in-mail. 10 pieces came in Saturday. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 left. We have to send money to the veterans. We have to help the veterans. Now, I can't videotape outdoors because it's an April shower. And this mailing is right now what I'm going to read to you. It's from the New York State Public Service Commission. Who stole our government? Who kidnapped our government? It was received by Glendora on April the 14th, and it's a memo endorsed by Glendora on April the 23rd. And it's to Honorable Charles N. Clevert, the United States District Judge, Eastern District of Wisconsin, 517 East Wisconsin Avenue in Milwaukee. And it's Glendora versus John M. Walker. Dear Judge Clevert, this man writes, his name is Flaveau, and he's an assistant counsel for the Public Service Commission, the state of New York, which I call the Public Parasites Commission. And he is saying, Dear Judge Clevert, this letter is sent on behalf of Mr. Jonathan Feinberg, an attorney with the New York State Public Service Commission, named by plaintiff pro se Glendora as an individual defendant in the above reference action. This letter does not constitute an appearance on the part of Mr. Feinberg, but is to apprise the court that Mr. Feinberg has not been appropriately served in this action at this time. And Glendora says, first line, he has. Second line, it is an appearance. Mr. Feinberg has been appropriately served. It is Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Rule 4D. It's a law, and it must be followed. A copy of the complaint with federal request for a waiver of service forms was received by the Public Service Commission via regular mail on or about February 18, 2004. It should have been received by Mr. Feinberg, and it was, and this is another lie. And Glendora says that's the way it's supposed to be, by regular mail. That's what Rule 4D, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, says. The Public Service Commission can never learn to write a grown-up legal paper. They stoop to letters. They don't know enough to list all parties, and they don't know enough to serve all parties. Not when you use Rule 4D, it is either. So he goes on to say that Rule 4F of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedures said you must serve by the state of New York. That's if you're using Rule F. But I'm not using Rule F. I'm using Rule D. So that's a lot of rhetoric, and it's not worth your time for me to read to you. And you know what? It doesn't end with a bang. It ends with a whimper. This is a copycat of Connell. You remember Connell? I read you that. And she too didn't know enough. She's in the United States, strike all that quickly. She's in the New York State Attorney General's office. And she didn't know enough to write a grown-up legal paper either. And she's being sued, by the way, in Omnibus 21, which is being written. Natalia, the bad landlord, is holding that one up. The complaint against Natalia and George Dixon and his wife, Joanne Dixon, the clerk of the court, and George is the justice. The complaint against that connubial pair and against their liar for hire, James Kleinbaum, that's Natalia's liar for hire. That is just taking an inordinate amount of time. Every day it's 2.5 hours, and it still isn't done. And it's already 150 pages. But there's one more thing to do, is jot the thoughts that were put on audio tape. Include those, and then print it. Oh, that's going to take 2 or 3 days. And then serve it. The case is not in a New York State court, it is in federal court. And they don't know this. They're saying that furthermore, service fails under New York State law. New York State law has nothing to do with it. This case originated in a federal court. It's served by federal rules of civil procedure, not by civil practice laws and rules state of New York. Rule 4D is there to be followed. 4F is irrelevant, except as their draft classification. No summons is to be included in the 4D service. Read it. The summons is state stuff when the first contact is made. Federal law does not say serve the Attorney General. Aren't these people, and this is a copycat of what Connell said. Federal does not have to practice the CPLR. Also, she failed to include a summons. We just covered that. And I say to Judge Clavert that these people are nescient. Further, they don't even know that UPS does not deliver to post office boxes. Guess what? Here's the proof of their dumb from UPS. UPS does not serve return to you because UPS does not serve post office boxes. Maybe someday they'll learn how to write grown-up legal papers, and maybe someday they will learn that UPS does not serve post office boxes. Plus, they have missed there's two other New York State defendants they haven't covered. And we pay taxes. Folks, you pay taxes for this slop. And so we'll have to sue Favreau, and that will be in Omnibus 22. After Omnibus 21, the current one, the instant one, is done. Dated April the 23rd, 2004, yours in disgust, Glendora. A chat with Glendora on 42 TV stations, including Albany and Washington, D.C. It goes to Clavert, the clerk of the court, to Feinberg, to Favreau, to Flynn, the chairman of the New York State Public Parasites Commission, and to you, Glendora TV audience, via coaxial cable, and to Harry Richardson, and to McDermott, and to Zabby, and for the Center for Judicial Accountability, all great Americans fighting to try to recapture your courts from the kidnappers. A joke. Adam was talking to God, and Adam said, God, why did you make Eve? And God says, I thought you were lonesome. And Adam says, God, why did you make her so beautiful? And God says, so you would like her. And Adam says, well, God, why did you make her so dumb? And God says, so she would like you. Glendora, chat with Glendora. Maybe tomorrow when we videotape we can go outdoors, but we have to have April showers, don't we? Don't we? Let's get a fancy fade. See if we can make this work. Peter Lane, the City Court, City of Rye, County of Westchester, State of New York, United States of America, denied my motion for default judgment. Now, Peter Lane ordered both sides to submit a memorandum of law by March the 5th. And by March the 20th, or later than that, Glendora had not received hers from Cablevision Systems Corporation, Charles F. Dolan, Robert M. Callaghy. And so she moved for default judgment that she should win. And the court sent her a copy of Callaghy's paper that he should have submitted March the 5th to Glendora. Now that's not right. The court is not in the business, folks, of serving the defendant's papers. That's up to the defendant, right? And so I made a motion for default judgment, and then Peter Lane sends it back when he sends his order back, and I take exception to that, and I resubmitted my motion for default judgment. And then Peter writes me, that came in sometime this week, this is Glendora plaintiff versus Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision. Glendora was the appellant, Glendora was the plaintiff, and Glendora was remand. Glendora won in the appeals court. In this case was remanded to the Rye court. And says Peter Lane, plaintiff, has moved here in post-trial for a default judgment. Her motion was filed and noticed prior to the rendering of this court's decision and order of March 31st, 2004, following the lengthy trial held on February 19, 2004. Plaintiff cites as the basis for her motion defendants' alleged failure to serve their post-trial memorandum upon her. inasmuch as inter alia this court caused that memorandum to be forwarded to her on March 19, 2004, upon its receipt of her motion, and neither party was entitled to reply to the other party's memorandum, plaintiff's motion is denied. Well, now, it wasn't a matter of not being able to reply to either's memorandum. That's not the matter. The matter is that he didn't send it to me. And so I should win by default judgment. So this is Glendora's memorandum to the court. April the 12th order is an appealable order. Defendants were ordered to send their memorandum of law on March the 5th, 04. Defendants did not serve Glendora March the 5th, 04. Defendants are in default. Glendora is owed judgment by default. This court is not supposed to serve defendant's papers on plaintiff as a favor. This is twice that this court has done this. Glendora is entitled to judgment by default. Denial of it is an appealable order. Glendora will submit the same to the appeals court when she submits plaintiff appellant's remand brief. Yours in truth and in amor patriae, Glendora, on 42 TV stations, including Albany, Rye, Washington, D.C., Brooklyn, Nassau, Suffolk, and this went to McDermott, Zabby, Callagy, Charles F. Dolan, Cablevision Systems Corporation, James L. Dolan, Glendora TV audience, you, and Harry Richardson and the Center for Judicial Accountability. And the son-in-law said, how come the boy, who is not good enough for the daughter, is the father of the smartest grandkid in the world? And Billy says he has a disease that's so rare that they haven't even had a telethon for it yet. And John says he's in such poor shape that the health club he belongs to makes him use the back door. And the senior citizen said if I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. Darlene says, I don't eat health foods. She says, I need all the preservatives that I can get. Henry took his kids to the fights, and his friend asked him, well, how did they like them? And Henry says, oh, good. He said they'd never been to a hockey game before. Marilyn says, our dining room table goes back to Louis XIV. And Carolyn says, our dining room table goes back to J.C. Penney's the 15th. The eye doctor said to the Japanese man, you have cataracts. And the Japanese man says, no, I have a rinkin. And what do you call a miniature guppy? A microfiche. And the famous author was asked by the reporter, what do you consider your greatest work of fiction? And the famous author said, my income tax form. Take care now, folks. Guess what? The legal papers are all up to date. Can you remember how far back they went? There were all of the legal papers that piled up during the moving, something like 34 of them, and those got done. And then while those were being done, a whole bunch of legal papers piled up in the mail. And then those got done. And while those were getting done, all of these are piled up in the mail. But the legal papers are up to date. Want to hear a hymn? Let's hear a hymn. Now, I may not be as familiar with this hymn as I should. Let's see. My faith looks up to thee, thou Lamb of Calvary, Savior divine. Oh, hear us while we pray. take all our guilt away, and let us be, and slowly gone, and let me be from this day something wholly thine. I'll go practice that for you. And from this day, well, the idea is there, isn't it? Okay, that is our 1 o'clock prayer. And now we'll finish the details that came in that mail last Saturday. And then we'll go to Chatham TV and tell them to play a Chat with Glendora so the people in Chatham can see a Chat with Glendora, which they should have been seeing for a year and 2 months now. Folks, we just sent 2 donations to the one to the Paralyzed Vets of America. You know, who could resist them? I don't think you can see these. The Paralyzed Vets of America. And to the Eastern Paralyzed Vets of America. Imagine, forced, coerced to go to war and lose your legs and arms or have a spinal injury and you're paralyzed. Imagine that. This is the Eastern. They send me pretty wrapping paper. Who can resist the vets? Particularly now that D-Day's coming. So this is a
years. One of the benefits I've had the opportunity to engage in, along with many other practicing lawyers, is that we go from judge to judge to judge, and we see different judges, and we are able to try and determine what characteristics of a judge we feel would be appropriate. Those 3 characteristics that I feel most appropriate for a judge are legal competence, which we take as a given, common sense, and temperament. And those things I hope to bring to the bench if confirmed by the Senate.
Gentlemen, let me say to each of you individually and collectively, it's pretty obvious why you've been nominated for your respective judgeships, and you all possess obviously great legal experience and competence or you wouldn't be here, but you touched on something there, Mr. Woodcock, and that's temperament. And just from your response here today, I think each of you possess that necessary judicial temperance that we need to see more often from the bench than we sometimes do. I will tell you that you may receive written questions from other members of the committee. They have until 5 p.m. on Wednesday, May 28th to submit written questions, and if there are any, they will be submitted to you in short order following that. That being said, if there are no further questions or participations from anyone on the committee, we will stand adjourned. Thank you very much. I will issue a warning that we'll have order. The committee will stand in recess until the police can restore order. Everyone remain seated.
Are you directing that I be arrested? Are you directing that I be arrested?
I'm directing that the police restore order.
Are you requesting that I be arrested?
Okay. Outside witnesses are welcome to submit letters supporting or opposing nominees for the committee's consideration, but it is not our usual procedure to invite outside witnesses to testify either in support or in opposition to the nomination. I realize this lady is disappointed that she's not able to make any statements this afternoon, but her disappointment in no way condones any disruption of this hearing. Again, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Production.
And the newest convicted. I'm convicted.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I was a criminal before. I was a criminal defendant before. Now I'm a convicted.
Convicted criminal defendant. Convicted criminal. Okay,
Yes.
ready? Let's just try it again.
It's okay.
Okay. Welcome, folks. We are here today at Secret Justice Productions, the Victims Roundtable. Today we have with us Elena Sassower, America's newest convicted criminal. She is with the Center for Judicial Accountability. Elena, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank
God bless.
Thank you so much for having me.
How do you feel? You just came out of court and you're now our newest criminal.
Yes. Yes.
And, does this make you proud of our system of justice?
No, of course not.
No.
I was unfairly convicted before a biased tribunal which ran roughshod over the most fundamental rules of procedure, evidence, and a trial so conducted necessarily results in conviction. This is the only way they could convict me on such a bogus charge as was lodged against me by the U.S. Attorney's Office, disruption of Congress.
I agree, and here's her article, as the Legal Times posted it last week. Trial of a judicial gadfly. Unfortunately, the Legal Times misrepresented throughout the whole proceeding what was happening, and the public has a right to know exactly what happened to this victim of our system. So I've invited...
Not a victim, an activist.
No, you're a victim. You are a victim of of a broken judicial system.
Well, you're only a victim if you want to feel victimized.
Well,
I'm an activist, and
okay.
I accept that the price of activism, unfortunately, is that I am going to be persecuted and prosecuted, which is exactly what has been happening. But I am unbowed by the conviction, much as I was unbowed and undaunted by the criminal charge. I certainly consider it a badge of honor. I in no way disrupted Congress. What is at
Well,
issue?
Elena, let's go back to the beginning.
Yes.
Okay, let's lay some foundation. Give me a history of your organization and your goals and your objectives for the American public.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I am the coordinator and co-founder of a nonpartisan, nonprofit citizens organization, a national citizens organization called the Center for Judicial Accountability. And what we do is document how judges break the law and get away with it. And they are able to break the law and get away with it because we have processes of judicial selection and discipline, which by and large...
Excuse me. You can leave out the discipline.
Well, exactly.
I mean, leave out the discipline. The process, as a victim of the judicial system myself, you can leave out the discipline because that is non-existent. If you don't stop a judge from being elevated to a position where he can do further harm to the Constitution, which you were trying to do at the hearing, you have no way of removing him because the records of the Supreme Court show that in 217 plus years, we've only impeached 11 judges.
Well, you have correctly identified that we don't have legitimate working processes in place to protect us. As far as judicial discipline goes, it's a sham. But it's one thing to say it's a sham, it's quite another to document it, because the legal and judicial establishment purport that there are working mechanisms in place to discipline and remove judges. That is the rhetoric. That is the hype. What our organization has been doing and does is bring together the evidence establishing that that is a deceit, a fraud upon the public, that the reality is quite different from the rhetoric and the hype. We certainly have done that on the federal level. We've done that on the state level as it relates to New York State. And of course, judicial discipline and removal is the tail end. The beginning of that process has to be one which ensures that only the best and most qualified persons will come to the bench. Unfortunately, we don't have a process that protects us in that fashion. The processes of judicial selection, whether you're talking about appointment or election, are dysfunctional, politicized, corrupted. They take place by and large behind closed doors. They pivot on political deals and other considerations having nothing to do with the merits of the candidate. I have to say that the experience that I have now most recently had in District of Columbia Superior Court has been most illuminating. Illuminating.
You would say it's illuminating?
Well,
as a victim of outright judicial tyranny myself, what I witnessed in those 5 days that I was present at your proceedings.
And bless you for being there.
Okay, it was horrendous, and people will never. No one in the audience could possibly understand. I couldn't explain how broken the system was and how dysfunctional the process was that ultimately convicted her. But this will all come out. This citizen here did a fabulous job of, at all stages of the proceeding, perfecting the record. Now we can only hope that as in many other courts, that the court doesn't order the transcript destroyed and altered, as I have had several of mine. But with the amount of reporters who were there to document this, I would say that this record is going to be one that is going to set a precedent of judicial abuse and judicial tyranny and professional misconduct on the part of the government and the prosecutor, the government, and the witnesses who perjured themselves outright.
But let me just say why it was so illuminating. And I appreciate your astonishment at my use of this word. The D.C. Superior Court judge is Brian Holman, and he is newly appointed to the bench by President Bush, confirmed through the Congress. What is interesting is that in the District of Columbia, the judges come up through what is deemed to be a merit selection process. That is a screening process. And the, quote, merit selection system is routinely touted as being the answer to some of the problems with judicial elections. There are any number of organizations and establishment groups that want to scrap judicial elections and replace them with what they tout as merit selection. Well, this is the first time that on a trial level I have had any kind of personal experience with a, quote, merit selected judge. And it's appalling. This is a judge that has just come to the bench in January, and certainly you would expect a new judge to be very careful, very sure to be respectful of the law, procedures, not cavalier of his oath of office to which he has so newly been sworn.
But you have to...
And what was astonishing here is to see a merit-selected judge, new to the bench, completely obliterate and destroy as I said, all fundamental standards. Let me just give a couple of illustrative
Well,
examples.
I wanted to add something to that.
Okay.
You know, this is the perception that our viewers here are missing. You know, before a judge is, after he's appointed, okay, they have to go to a judicial college. And after what I saw,
One wonders the schooling.
I
Like
often
that.
wonder, you know, what these purported judicial colleges are teaching. You know, I mean, it's bad enough that the American Bar Association is now openly telling its students in the state of Florida that it's all right to lie to a judge. You know, contrary to everything else, but to find that the judicial officers who are charged with the oversight of the protecting of the Constitution of this great nation, that was appalling.
Well,
He wouldn't even let you mention the Constitution.
well, it was appalling, but you should know, and your viewers should be aware, that even before the case came to trial, I had moved to disqualify Judge Coleman based upon his demonstrated actual bias, even before he had rendered any decisions in the case.
I heard that the first day.
It was already evident
Yes.
from my initial contacts with him that something was seriously awry, and indeed I requested, as was appropriate, that he make requisite disclosure of any facts bearing upon his fairness and impartiality. Because in my very first contact with his chambers, when I called on a routine procedural inquiry, the result of that telephone call was a direction that I was never to call chambers again. Well, my question was, properly so, thereafter, whether or not he treated other lawyers, other pro se litigants, I'm not a lawyer, other lawyers, pro se litigants, in a similar fashion. Did he have an across-the-board direction to them, prescribing them from calling chambers, or was it just toward me? This was a very straightforward inquiry, and even as to that straightforward inquiry, whether he was treating me invidiously or not, he wouldn't respond. He wouldn't make disclosure of facts bearing upon his fairness and impartiality. And as I demonstrated, he was